Hey everybody! We're doing more reactions to my old cringe today. I was very happy with the feedback I got on the first one, and I figured, yeah, let's do it again. I've got some time on my hands. Let's look at more of my embarrassing past. So, I've got KHF's reaction to Chobits pulled up here. Once again, I remember nothing about this, probably because I've tried to block a lot of it out. But I remember liking Chobits like right from the outset. So, let's give this a watch and see if I'm remembering that correctly.
Well, I can definitely see where people are coming from when they... Hey.
What? Why is Salmonella there? Where was Emma?
Just keep getting into my house. Don't dodge the question.
Why you
Oh, right, Negima, right. So, I don't know if I even had that. Oh, actually, but right before I reviewed Chobits, I reviewed Negima, didn't I? And I remember not liking it. And it was one that was highly recommended to me as being good. But I remember not liking it, and I think it was because, like, it doesn't, like, most anime take place in a high school, but this one actually took place in a middle school, so, like, the characters are meant to be only, like, 14 or so, and there's a lot of questionable content there. Now, back then, people didn't give as much of a shit about that happening in anime as they do now, because it's animation. People just like whatever to it. Back then, that's, you know, it's anime. It's just a different sort of genre. That's just what they do. But obviously, it's, and I'm not saying for unjustifiable reasons. It's a lot more of a touchy subject nowadays, which, you know, I completely get. So I don't think people will be quite as lenient on it. Well, I think it would still have its fans, but I don't think people would be quite as lenient on it as they were back then. Oh gosh, I've still got that old TV. Oh my goodness. Right. But anyway, yeah, I watched the first couple of episodes, and I could not, for the life of me, get into it. Like, some of the humor, like, it was really not for me. So I couldn't go on, so I had to move on to the next thing. I mean, Chobits has its rude humor, but it's done in a much more tasteful way. And I think the joke in the previous video was that I couldn't stand Negima so much, so I left Emma Sky to do the Negima review, if I'm remembering that right, and it traumatized her so much. Yeah, it was this where I drew the teddy bear gag from, wasn't it? Yes, it's coming back to me now. It traumatized her so much that she had to be off the show for a while. That was the storyline I did. So obviously why I picked Salmonella to fill in, I really don't know. A guy who's literally a one-note joke about otakus. Maybe I was subtly trying to make fun of myself, I don't know. But yeah, so that traumatized Emma, and then went to this whole storyline where you couldn't say the word teddy bear to her or she'd have PTSD, because there was a joke about some girl's teddy bear panties in Negima. Mine said girl was only 14, so... so that was the origin of the teddy bear joke. I know a lot of people didn't get it because not everybody had watched Negima, but that was the origin of that joke, and I suppose this was the first fallout of it.
I actually quit doing the Negima review.
Yeah, that's what I did.
It's Emma's responsibility. Okay, so why isn't Emma...
voice I'm doing? I'm really liking that Salmonella voice.
To do the video on the second episode, and all I could find was this note saying "Die Neggy die."
Oh, I'm trying to remember the exact moment I got tired of Negima and couldn't take it anymore. And for the record, I know that I think there's like 2 different anime series of Negima. One which is a bit ruder, a bit cruder, and one which is, I think, the one people remember more fondly, which isn't as crude in the humour. Obviously I watched the former one. I never got around to watching the latter one. Maybe I will someday, I don't know. Don't know how well Negima has aged, but yeah, I think the Negima that I watched people described as being the bad one. I don't remember, it was such a long time ago.
Serial killer has tried to murder her once.
That's because she was reviewing the bad series of Negima, noob.
Oh, lo and behold, Otaku Boy actually pointed that out.
Yes, I am aware, I have been informed of this, that there is, in fact, another series of Negamo which is supposed to be much better and which is the series that the fans actually prefer.
And it was probably the one they recommended to me.
I do plan to review this other series in the future.
And I never did.
To get over the mental scars that the bad series...
Oh, that wristband! That wristband that I was wearing, like, that actually had the, I think it was Brigade Leader, kanji on it. It was a Haruhi wristband. Oh yeah, I remember that was the only semblance of a costume that I had, like a consistent look, was the red wristband. I don't know what happened to that thing. I remember it got quite filthy after a while. If I found it again, it's probably in serious need of a wash.
Surprised me in the slightest.
That there's two versions of this series, a good one and a bad one. What surprises me is that these people are actually able to acknowledge that bad anime exists at all.
Yeah, that was kind of a thing, and I think it was just due to the general age of the audience at the time. Like, quite a lot of people who followed me were in the mindset of, you know, anime is what I like, so everything about it has to be good. I know there are still, I'm not going to say, like, still plenty of anime fans like that out there. There's fans of that in every fandom. I think just because it's a genre I enjoy, it has to be good. And just, like, kind of outright refuse to accept that anything related to something you like could be bad. And I think I go into it in a bit like, yeah, I kind of get the mentality, but the thing is, when you like something, you've got to take the good and the bad, and by acknowledging the bad doesn't mean you don't like the product. It just, you know, in fact, if anything, it annoys you because you like the product, because you know it can be good.
Anyway, for now, let's just forget the bad series of Negamo. Let's just forget that series and move on to a series that I'm sure won't be disgusting or disturbing in the slightest.
It isn't. It's not. It's got its rude humour in there, but considering how far some anime go, it could be a lot worse.
So this anime stars a farm boy.
Yeah, it's different. It's unique.
Yeah.
Dead serious as well. This anime stars a farm boy.
Yeah, but why is that a bad thing?
Talks to his cows.
You talk to sprites from Ace Attorney on a regular basis, mate. You've got no right to judge.
Okay. Anyway, he's really upset he's got rejected from a college he applies to, and apparently this is the only college that exists in this world because he can't just simply apply to another one.
Well, it may have been the one that's most convenient for him to get into, or, you know, the one that's most realistic for him to get to depending on his grades. It's college application is a lot more complicated than you're making it out to be.
Anyway, he's upset he got rejected from this college, so he plans to move to Tokyo in order to attend a prep school so he can get into said college next year. So he does just this.
That little stutter, that little... Well, I forgot to edit out my fluff of my line. So he does just this. My editing skills weren't then.
Packs his bags, he hops on the train over to Tokyo, and once he gets off his train into Tokyo, he spots a man who's being accompanied by a woman with very strange ears. To this he says, "Oh, she must be a Persicom." And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, okay. What in the blue...
Well, watch on and you'll find out.
Apparently selling the latest models of these Persicoms.
And seriously, you couldn't tell from the name? It wasn't kind of obvious from the name? Persicom, personal computer?
It turns out they're basically like living computers that everybody seems to own in this world. They're basically robots that are hooked up to the internet.
Well, they're androids, yeah.
Pull up websites, send emails, etc, etc. How they actually do this is beyond...
They're basically the androids from Detroit Become Human, except without it being a metaphor for slavery.
Own a Persicom of his own. Though he must have some kind of internet connection because apparently he's a fan of Captain S.
Captain S! Oh my gosh! Who remembers that show? Oh my gosh, that was an awesome show. That was way better than anything I put up, and that was one of the primary reasons I decided to start uploading videos. Wow, gosh, Captain S. That takes me back. for those who don't know what it basically was, I mean, yeah, some of you will probably familiar with the old cartoon Captain N, and it was basically a sort of parody of that, but it was a parody of that in the style of something like Power Rangers or I'd say more Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Who remembers that one? Yeah, it was kind of a Superhuman Samurai parody thing. Like it had that kind of 90s, teenage sitcom Saved by the Bell setup, but the main character, Captain S, would go into Mega Drive or Genesis games. And yeah, that was a really good show, and it was setting up for a big second season, which unfortunately never happened. But oh my gosh, Captain S. Oh, that's one that will be interesting to look back on if I can find it. I think I've got its music from its montage episode on my iTunes. Actually, I work out to that music. Actually, it's a good motivational tune.
So because he doesn't own one, he starts flipping out and yelling about how he really wishes he owns one, so he can surf the internet, send email, and I'm quoting this one here. Visit those legendary.
So much about. Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you? Especially when you're that age. I mean, what else are you going to use the internet for? Oh gosh, am I gonna king shade him now?
Yeah, he actually yells this.
Yeah, it's called comedy.
Apparently, despite being voiced by Crispin Freeman, this guy has no real sense of internal monologue.
That was a Keown reference.
His new flat building, and he meets his landlady, who's voiced by. Oh god.
Oh, it was Bridget Hoffman.
Who's voiced by Bridget?
It was Bridget Hoffman. That was it. Yeah, I had this. I used to have this dislike for Bridget Hoffman because every single anime I heard her in, it was the exact same voice she did, and honestly, there's no problem with that. If you've got a type of voice that suits a type of character, then why wouldn't you? You're going to be typecast as that kind of character. But yeah, I think it just annoyed me just hearing the same voice over and over again when guys like Crispin Freeman and others were capable of a variety of voices. But the thing is, she could act the roles well. So, okay, it was the same voice a lot of the time, but she could act the roles decently enough. So, I'm sure she's a lovely person. So, I don't know, I've never actually met her, but, yeah, I had this thing against Bridget Hoffman, which was kind of unjustified. And on the 0.01% chance you somehow see this Bridget Hoffman, I'm very sorry for what I said.
Because she's got the same bloody voice that Bridget Hoffman...
Yeah, but, it's a voice that works for the characters she voices.
Anyway, she takes him up to his new flat. After taking a quick look around his new flat, he gets a knock at his door. He goes to open his door and he's suddenly attacked by... What the hell is that?
Ruffle, it's a mobile Persicom, noob.
A mobile person. But aren't they mobile already? Seeing as they can actually, walk and stuff?
Yeah, but isn't a phone more handy to carry around than a massive laptop? That's the mentality there. Is that some of them are more portable and easier to carry around. Might not be able to do quite as much, but they're more convenient to go around than having a human-sized computer go with you.
What is it with companies and constantly having to make their products smaller?
I probably thought I was being really clever there, by the way. I probably thought I was being really clever with pointing out that contradiction when it really isn't. It's, again, the mobile ones are basically mobiles, as we call them here in the UK. They're basically your phone, as opposed to, having an actual computer with you.
Smaller, just because it's
more convenient. Ugh.
Again, I probably thought I was being so clever here, making such a good point. I'm really not.
Mobile Persicom.
Which again is a mobile phone. You idiot.
It apparently belongs to his next door neighbour, who promises him that he can use his mobile Persicom for sending emails and visiting the legendary porno site.
Back in the day where everybody didn't have basically what is a mobile Persicom with them, let's be honest, that's what smartphones basically are. Back in the day when not everybody had one and didn't have unlimited access to looking at porn whenever you want. Not that I would know. Oh, funny story. This is completely unrelated, but this is a story I absolutely love. When I was going to MCM one year, and they're telling everybody to get their tickets ready, one guy was pulling his ticket up on his phone, and one of the security guards started yelling out, "He's looking at porn on his phone! He's looking at porn on his phone!" That guy was awesome. I wonder if he'll be there when I do the panel. That guy was amazing.
He's heard so much about. Later that evening, Farm Boy is visiting his local supermarket,
His local Combini.
which apparently has Persicoms running the...
Well, why wouldn't it? Like,
Well, I'm sure they make for much...
well, why wouldn't it? It's an automated computer system that you probably don't have to pay. And like, if this was Detroit Become Human, you know, there'll be a lot of metaphor behind that, and you know, think about Persicom rights. But yeah, no, the day is going to come when cashiers are replaced with automated systems. Mark my words.
better staff than anybody that Tesco's hires, right?
Did I seriously just have a pop at Tesco? Did I have a bad experience with Tesco that week?
Robots that have their own artificial intelligence to perform all their jobs for them. If there's anything movies and TV have taught me, it's that this kind of situation is only going to lead to trouble. So
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Chobits never explored that, but it was more about exploring, like, is being human something, you know, about being biological, or is the ability to gain sentience what makes us human? Like, yeah, it wasn't that kind of story. And actually, all credit to it for not exploring that, you know, uprising, you know, we have rights thing, you know, like a lot of science fiction does. It actually explored this idea in a much more interesting way, I thought.
When he
notices somebody's actually thrown a Persicom out with their rubbish. Oh, and you just throw them out when you're done with them, or when you get a new model. You just throw them out.
And by the way, doesn't she turn out to be like a super powerful Persicom? Like she's a Chobits, like a super powerful Persicom. And just like, and it was the landlord who created her, wasn't it? So, like, she just threw this super powerful, this supercomputer out in the rubbish. I would have thought you'd try and dispose of her more discreetly.
Yeah, I think this is going to lead to some serious shit for the human race. I really do. Anyway.
he can't just leave
Not really.
them there
And seeing as he doesn't own his own Persicom, he decides to take
He's a dumpster diver!
and she weighs a ton.
Han though, but then again that's to be expected because she's, you know, a robot. Anyway, as he's slowly but surely carrying her home, some kind of disc seems to fall out of her. Well, I'm certain it was nothing important at all.
I think it is explained what it is, but I can't for the life of me remember. But it was something important, but I can't for the life of me... People can tell me in the comment section. I can't for the life of me remember what the point of that was.
Much struggling, he manages to lug this Persicom back to his flat, and he's desperately trying to turn it on, but with little success. He literally presses everything on her that can be considered a button.
They do make a joke about pressing her nipples.
Except for one
Wait, why do Persicoms even have nipples? Anyway.
specific area. The
crotch. The groin.
making area.
That's what you went for, okay. You sad, ignorant boy, you did not get the, the turning on humour there, did you? Oh, you little boy. Obviously I get the joke now from back then.
So he, well, let's just say he finds the switch to turn her on.
Oh, he turns her on, alright.
Seriously though,
What kind of sick bastard thought that would be a good design idea?
I would have done it. That's all I decided.
When all of a sudden his...
next door neighbour
Now, even though everyone seems...
Well, I would.
He still finds the need to hide his from his next door neighbour for some...
Well, because it was nude.
to successfully managing to hide his Persicom from his neighbour, who also happens to own one.
Well, because it was Probably because it was nude and it's technically stolen. So, you know, didn't want to find out.
He starts checking her out and seeing how she works, basically. Because, you know, the neighbour he just turned away, who happens to also own a Persicom, might I add, would know absolutely nothing to help him get started with his. Apparently, though, all she can...
Oh, I've already listed the reasons why.
Can't really do much else besides mimicking exactly what he does. Well, I'm sure this has absolutely nothing to do with the disc that fell out of her
Well, of course it does. That's a plot point for later on. It's called foreshadowing, you idiot.
lady, Bridget Hoffman. So he tries to hide his Persicom again, though this time he can apparently carry her just fine.
Yeah, because she's not unconscious now. Like, have you ever tried lifting like a conscious person as opposed to an unconscious one? Because when someone's unconscious and can't shift their own body weight, they're a lot heavier. And plus, at the end of the day, narrative convenience. That's all it is. Shows how little I knew back then.
Even though he nearly threw his back out trying to carry her home in the previous scene. Yeah, apparently he's gotten 20 times stronger.
No, like I say, narrative convenience.
He learned some workout techniques from the characters in Dragon Ball Z or something.
Okay, I'll give you that one. That was actually quite clever. That was actually quite good. It's quite, was this when I had my... Because Dragon Ball was another one I went through a visceral hatred period with because I wanted to be contrarian for a little while. Even though... was this during my Dragon Ball hatred phase just because the fandom is trash? And by the way, if that's my foundation for hating something, then I might as well hate all forms of media, right?
Hide her, which pretty much consists of just placing her around a corner so she's out of the direct eye line of the person at the door.
Which is what you do in a panic. Which is what you do when you're panicking. Like, that makes sense. But where she's not immediately visible. Why am I criticising that?
His landlady, Bridget Hoffman, discovers that he does in fact have his own Persicom now. You know, the things that everybody in this town seems to own. Oh, the tragedy. He's been found out. Well, despite some...
Again, it will be important her knowing that he has that specific model will be important later. Again, it's called foreshadowing. Genius.
Slightly disturbing stuff here and there.
What was even remotely disturbing about that? It was a pretty straightforward story. Quite honestly. Okay, it's an interesting way of presenting the advancement of technology as opposed to them, like having them be humanoid as opposed to actual computers, but there was nothing overly rude. Maybe the turn on joke, but that was it. That is very tame compared to some humour I've heard in anime. You are being harsher with this series than you need to be.
Overall, this honestly wasn't a bad first episode.
No, it was. It was very good.
The whole reason I am checking out this series is because when I was reviewing Deers, people kept telling me that Deers ripped off Chobits.
Deers. Oh boy, you thought my hatred of Clannad was bad. Oh my gosh, Deers. Now, unlike Clannad, I still think Deers is a bad series, but again, I've seen far worse than it. Still don't think it's good, but I have seen far worse. But at the time, I thought it was the worst thing I'd ever seen. And I had oh my gosh, again, you thought I hated Clannad. The main character, Taki Ikuhara, like, oh my gosh, like, I think, like, when I started really, like, doing, like, the cringy storyline stuff, he was, like, my shonen rival, basically. Like, I hated him that much, like, I wasn't the, like, I mean, obviously it was exaggerated for taking the piss out of anime storylines, but, like, that hatred was genuine, and, like, okay, yeah, he's kind of a dick character, but, like, there are far, far worse, like, characters in anime, far worse than him. People who, at most, he's just angsty. Like, at most it's teenage angst. Oh, Deers is definitely, the reaction to Deers is definitely one I want to look back on, but unfortunately it's in the old format, and I'm still working on converting those into modern formats. I know it's one a lot of people probably want to see, but at the moment I can't. But Deers, oh my gosh. Actually, a couple of years ago I actually met the dub voice actor for Takia Ikuhara, Taliesin Jaffe, and I think that was kind of a rite of passage for me of letting go of that ridiculous hatred of the idiot I used to be, in that, you know, I'm a grown up now, I'm not going to get...
Chobits.
Oh,
And yes,
sorry, the screensaver went on and I had to move the thing, I accidentally started playing again. But yeah, like, that was kind of a rite of passage for me, that, you know, I'm a grown up now, I'm not going to take Japanese cartoons as seriously as I used to, and I know some people are going to get upset with me for saying Japanese cartoons, but hey, when I was in Japan the first time, an actual Japanese woman said to me, you know, your sister tells me you like Japanese cartoons, so there you go. But yeah, no, meeting Taliesin Jaffe, that was kind of, like I say, yeah, a moment of me moving on and becoming the new me, if you will. He even gave me a hug. I did not tell him any of this. He's just a nice guy. He was giving fans hugs. I didn't tell him any of this, but yeah, that hug, that was the hug of destiny. But yeah, he was a nice guy. He was a nice guy. So there you go. Like, KHF has canonically hugged Takia Ikuhara.
watching the first episode of Chobits.
Was almost exactly like watching the first.
Yeah, but I don't think either Deers nor Chobits were the innovator of this whole, you know, sci-fi magical girlfriend genre. I don't think either of them were pioneers. I think they're the ones, like, a lot of people in the West discovered the genre view, but they definitely did not invent this, like, subgenre of anime.
Episode of Deers, but there were 3 significant differences. The first one obviously being that this series is about robots, not aliens.
Yeah, but those are 2 interchangeable archetypes, let's be honest.
Didn't seem to be nearly as much perverted stuff as there was in Deers.
Okay, fair enough, no, Deers had a lot more of that kind of humour, but again, I've seen much worse.
It will change in the later episodes.
Doesn't.
As far as the first episode goes, there wasn't nearly as much perverted stuff as there was with Deers. The third and final difference,
Oh, is this going to be the Takia rage?
is in that, well, in Chobits, the main character isn't... Sure, this guy is a little strange, but from what I can see, he's...
Oh, and like this angsty teenage boy thing, like, I mean, it makes the character. I get it. It makes the character more compelling that he again, I mentioned this in the last video. He doesn't fit in with the status quo, which is a big thing in Japan. Like, you know, it does his own thing and isn't your conventional sort of hero character. I get the thought process behind it now, but back then, gosh, I took it personally, and it's like, dude, they're paper. Get over it.
character, or at least that's what I can see in this first episode. Seriously, what's wrong with having a main character who's a nice guy?
It can lead to them being boring, not compelling, unrelatable. It's a lot easier to write a story around a character who has a lot of flaws and ultimately overcomes them. So yeah, there's a, you know, if not that having a nice guy main character can't work, it has worked in plenty of cases, Chobits being an example, but no, there's plenty of reason. I get why they do these angsty character types, because you want to see them, like, if they grow and improve as a character. Like, especially when your audience is primarily teenagers who are probably going through a lot of that angst themselves. Yeah, you know, I get it.
Don't give me that! Oh, but the aggressive douchebag characters are much more interesting. Bullshit. Because
They are! They are! It's not bullshit, they are!
take the guy from this anime, for example. Overall, he's a very nice guy, but what makes him interesting is that he's...
Am I trying to grow my facial hair at this point? What's that? It's with the chin fuzz I've got.
technology that's surrounding him. On top of all that, he's prone to shouting out his thoughts when he gets really excited about something. So,
That's actually something I do.
an interesting character who's not a complete prick to everybody. What?
Yeah, again, it can be done, and I think Hideki's a good example of that, but I think from a writer's perspective, especially when it comes to anime and manga, it's a lot easier to hook an audience on the idea of someone who's kind of a social outcast, who isn't your conventional hero, and, you know, you want to see if they'll improve as a person.
Why is this considered such a bad thing?
It isn't.
Yes.
Reluctant heroes do make for better writing.
Yes, that's
Reluctant about the call to be a hero without being a complete douchebag about it.
They can, but I don't think it would make things quite as interesting. I mean, it can, but I think it's much easier to hook an audience on someone who's dead set against it rather than someone who's maybe just a little bit afraid of the idea.
Ikuhara!
Was that my was that my equivalent of like the Nostalgia Critic AVGN rivalry? That was kind of a thing at the time. I did not believe your rage for a second there. Although, like I said, the rage was genuine, but I think because I was living at home at the time, I didn't want to raise my voice too loud.
Sorry, alright. It's just, I get a tad angry.
A tad? A tad? A tad? Dude, you have a dartboard in that room, a magnetic dartboard with Takia's picture on it. And that never showed up in videos, by the way. I probably convinced myself it would be shown in videos, but no, it never did. That was just the thing I had that I occasionally did to de-stress. So, dude, a tad angry? Dude, you considered a piece of paper your eternal rival.
Why, but whenever I see him, I just get this uncontrollable rage.
So, are you still, like, reviewing Chobits?
Voice.
For want.
Oh, is that it? So that's it, that's where it ended? Oh, okay. That was kind of a... I'm not gonna lie, that was a shitty end to that video. But that wasn't quite as embarrassing as the Shana video, but that was pretty a pretty interesting dive into where I was, like, as a person back then and what my mentality was, and again shows how much I've matured and how much I know now about, I think, just about media in general, not just anime. So yeah, that was what it was. Gosh, I say the Negima stuff, the teddy bear gag, which when I rebooted my continuity, people didn't get why it was gone right away, because people didn't get that it was a reboot, because I think I kept saying relaunch instead of reboot. I think people understand reboot a lot better. And if you understand reboot a lot better, go and watch the old 90s CG cartoon, because it was really good. But anyway, yeah, no, that was good. That was fun. Looking back at that, hopefully you enjoyed this this look back into an old idiot with too much hair ranting about things he really knows nothing about. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see everybody later. Have fun, enjoy yourselves, but don't have too much fun. That can kill you.